So I want to talk about living because obviously I was living, but I felt like I was living other people's lives. I felt like I was living on automatic habits where I would just wake up, do the same shit every day, go back into my dark room, track my calories, but still eat like shit. Like I remember I had like packs of cookies and like the smallest things, like going on a 4 minute walk to the grocery store felt like the biggest pain in the ass for me. And that was only what, like a bit more than 2 years ago. So I feel like I've come a long way, and the only reason I think I escaped that life and I escaped that place where I was just unhealthy mentally, physically. I was overweight and I was so negative. I remember like all like the emotions I was feeling. I was just so negative towards everything, towards my family, towards my friends. I didn't really want to talk to anyone. I was antisocial, and it was scary. It was scary, and I think the only reason that forced me to come out of that place was fear. I was scared of continuing to live like this. I was scared to just be the secondary character in my life who has never experienced or has never done anything, who doesn't form her own opinions. And I think fear is what made me change. On one hand, you could say that I was still living, but is that life? I wouldn't say so. Like, to me, that's just not an enjoyable life that you should be even striving towards. So the first thing I did was I deleted social media because I knew how bad it was for me, but I never did anything about it because I just procrastinated it and I just couldn't be asked because I still wanted to see what everyone else was doing until I had to ask myself the question, why the fuck do I care what everyone else is doing? What good is this doing to me? And the only way I can do, I couldn't ease into it where I would be like, oh, 1 hour of social media, a day, or like setting time limits. Like, that didn't work for me. I had to go extreme. I had to completely change my life around. I deleted social media. I started working out. I started tracking my calories. Yes, I was still not eating the best, and my nutrition is like an ongoing thing, like until now. But I had to make these dramatic changes in order to escape the life that I was living. I remember that was the year where I failed my GCSEs because I was in school in China, and COVID started, and I was in online school where I had to study from 3 a.m. Like, my school day consisted from being 3 a.m. till 10 a.m. And I would just sleep during class. Like, I wouldn't even go to class, and I failed my GCSEs, so I had to stay a year behind. And that was the summer where I was probably the unhappiest I've ever been, where all my friends were going forward. And in my head, I felt like such a reject. I felt like such a disappointment towards my family, where I was like, if I continue living like this, like, I'm not gonna get anywhere. So yeah, deleting social media, it made me realize how much time I suddenly had on my hands, how much time I was spending, wasting, comparing myself to other people, how much time I was just laying and scrolling and creating these excuses of, oh, one more scroll. And then when I look back on it, I don't even remember any of the content that I was consuming. Like, nothing was valuable. I do want to say that if you don't know where to start, I'd start off with just deleting social media. Like, I think there's a level of information that you can educate yourself on, especially on YouTube and online right now, until it just becomes procrastination. The amount of times I did not know what I was doing in the gym, the amount of times I was just bullseyeing it, like, you just have to start. If you want dramatic changes in your life, you're just gonna have to do it, and you're just gonna have to do it consistently over a long period of time, and just change the way you think. Like, I've changed the way I think about things now. Like, I would be so negative in the past, and with social media, like, actually it did me no benefits. If I had nothing to post on it, if I had nothing to contribute in a good way, I didn't have a business. If I had a business, then yeah, I'd consider starting social media. But I had nothing. I was just a spectator. I was just looking. And you can use social media the right way. I'm not saying you can't, but I just didn't know how to. So the best way for me was just to delete it. And I still don't have social media to this day, but I will be looking to get it in the future because I am looking to start a company. But Basically, then it was just my physical health. I went to the gym, I started working out. I didn't know how the fuck, I didn't know how to do this. I wasn't working at my potential in the gym. I wasn't pushing myself hard enough, but I was showing up, and I consistently have been showing up for like a year and a half now. Even though it took me a long time to kind of understand how it whole works, and I feel like only now I've been reaching the stage, which after a whole year, only now I've been reaching the stage of knowing how to correctly do things, and my split and how much cardio and my nutrition, especially because my nutrition was fucked before. Only now I'm starting to get the hints of it. I've also realized that the greatest moments of where I've changed were where I pushed myself the hardest, where I've changed, like where I did something that I really did not want to do, where I ran that 10K when I really did not want to do it. I feel like that's where it gave confidence within myself to know that holy shit, I can do it next time. That wow, like I am something, you know, like I can do something. So it's like working when I don't want to, studying when I don't want to. It's like basically doing things that I don't want to. And to me, these little victories, they just prove to myself that I can do it. And it's about doing them consistently. Like I remember there were times where I just did not want to go outside with my dog because it was raining, it was cold, I couldn't be asked, I was tired. But in my head, like I remember these moments, I would just think to myself, like, Dana, how would I feel about myself after I did this? Or am I going to end up regretting this? And is this just some stupid excuse? And then I would force myself to do it. And it was only difficult in that moment where I had to get up. But once you start doing it, it comes. Like it just happens. And you feel so much more better about yourself after. So now I didn't want to sit down and film this video. But it's really about separating my emotions with my feelings. Oh, wait, no. It's really about separating my behaviors with my feelings. Like I might not feel like it. There's different days with how I feel, the thoughts that come in my head, but there's just things that I have to do. And that brings me on to my next point. I started doing to-do lists, and I think that really, like it might be really guru and influencery, but that's just what worked for me. Like I generally, when I started doing to-do lists, I started off with doing it on a whiteboard. Like as soon as I wake up, that's the first thing I saw, and then I would just tick off everything. And I feel like that taught me where I was putting my time in and what was something that I was just wasting and spending my time on, which was useless. And now I've kind of translated it onto doing it in my notes. So every day before I go to bed, I would write down my to-do list, and then I would just look at it and just see what's worthwhile, what is bringing me a step forward, what is not a waste of time. And that really, like that generally helped me a lot. So for some people it might not work, but if you just consistently look at it over a long period of time, for me now it's just a habit. Like now I don't even question it. I just write down my to-do list, and then I try to do everything that I told myself I would do. And that once again makes me feel like I'm going in the right direction before I go to bed. So it's, at the end of the day, it just comes back down to doing shit you don't want to do because it raises your confidence about yourself and makes you really prioritize yourself. But I do want to distinguish between prioritizing yourself to an extent where you're just becoming selfish. Like don't neglect like your friends, don't neglect your family. I didn't say that properly. Don't neglect your family just because you're entering self-development or self-growth. Like that is still part of it, like being able to talk to people, being able to communicate your feelings properly. To me, that's still self-development and self-growth. But then again, I can counter that and say that you can't have it all. You like there's areas where you have to specialize and really put your focus on, whether it's your career, where then you would have to there's like an opportunity cost, you know, like you can't do everything. So yeah, I mean, I can just keep on going and going, but it's really just about making these decisions instead of just continuously trying to educate yourself on everything and then procrastinate on everything. You just have to do it, and you will figure out along the way. Obviously, it's better to supplement it with education, but most importantly, just do shit that you don't want to do. Just prove to yourself that you can do it. And that's what I did. And I completely changed my way I think about things. I generally, I don't think you guys understand, but I was so negative before. So negative towards everything. towards people, towards life. I was so not excited. Where now I can really say that I'm so excited for the future. And that sounds really cliche, really cringe, but that's just how it is. So yeah, I'm probably yapping too much, but if you have questions and if you want me to do like an in-depth topic that I kind of like dip my toes in today in, then feel free to say something, whether it's like about social media, the gym, whether it's just about pushing yourself and just growth and development. Also, I am starting and looking to create a community. I'm probably going to be, but I just want to know if people would be interested in that. And it's like on a platform called Schools, where we just come together and just have meetings and just talk with each other on video call and just keep each other accountable and talk for problems and solutions. And I feel like it would just be really interesting to form like a community of self-growth and development. So if you guys are interested in that, just comment down below or like send me an email. I'll link it down below. So hopefully you guys learned something, and it is just about pushing yourself and really understanding yourself and being aware of when it is you don't want to do something, when it is it's just a shit excuse, versus objectively knowing when it is you have to go do something and how you're going to feel after. So yeah, I'm going to leave it on this note.